So I was asked if I could give a biological explanation of non-duality, and I can't give you one. Non-duality can't be understood. And the question is asked on the level where the collection of sensory experiences that believe itself to exist as someone is happening. And an answer can't be given on that level. So, for the sake of smooth conversation, from now on, I'm going to call that delusion, that the collection of sensory experiences believing itself to exist as someone, I'm going to call that the ego or the someone. I could call it Harold. It doesn't exist, so we can call it whatever. In this podcast and today, I'm going to call it the ego or the someone. So to make everything clear, the ego does not exist. The someone calling itself ego does not exist. The terms are only used to make the conversation more smooth. So, the ego or the someone is self-created. And the ego or the someone believes itself to exist. It believes itself to be real. And it believes itself to be part of a biological world of duality and impermanence. And the ego or the someone has the delusion that it's real because it's anchoring its existence into the biological body. Now, biology exists, and biology is tied into time, cells decay. The ego or the someone, however, is latching onto that too. And then it's creating a delusion on top of the delusion about the someone, the I, have a body. This is my body. And my body is connected into time, which means that I'm connected into time. All that is a lie. All that is a self-created delusion. It's not real at all. The self-created existence of the ego or the someone is taking a free ride on something that is not at all connected to. And it's doing it in order to create a sense of reality for it to exist in. And then it logs on to Zoom or listen to this podcast and ask questions from that delusional level of fake existence. So the best biological explanation of non-duality I can give you is, I can't give you one. There is no you. There's no me. There's nothing to understand. The latching on to biology and creating a delusion about the someone being real because biology is real. That's just another delusion. In reality, biology is not real either. Biology and biochemistry and endocrinology is happening on the biological level, and the field of science is only about that and should only be about that. Because things start to get so confusing when the ego or the someone has connected itself to the biological change of, for example, biochemistry and endocrinology, on that change that it has on biology. Because a body that is changing its biology with, let's say, hormonal treatment, for example, if you take testosterone, or that is changing its biology with contraception, or is changing its biology with, the natural development of either puberty or menopause, that body is changing its sensory perception as well. And if the collection of sensory experiences that individually believe itself to exist as a someone is identifying with that change of biology, it will perceive a change in personality. You see where this is going? And that is how an ego or the someone can create a crisis simply because it's identifying on that level. And this is why something that is immensely uncomplicated and very, very straightforward, all of a sudden becomes super complicated and filled with unsolvable riddles. So I just want to get back to what actually is. Nothing is. And everything is at the same time. It's all energy. There's nothing negative in the loaded sense of the word, and there's nothing positive in the loaded sense of the word. There just is. If that seems complicated, then for sure, right now, there's an ego on someone believing itself to exist, sitting and trying to understand something that can't be understood. The entire delusion lies in the bundle of sensory experiences. Believing itself to exist as someone is latching onto the biological level of the body and claims it to be me and mine. It's like when the imperialists traveled out into the world or came to India and put down the flag and claimed it to be England. This is now England. Well, not really, is it? It's unchanged. You're just claiming it to be something it's not. It's the same with the bundle of sensory experiences that all of a sudden goes, I receive all these sensory experiences from the body. This collection of sensory experiences, I will now define that as me. Well, okay. That does not mean there is a me. It just means that the collection of sensory experiences is getting a feeling of grandeur and importance. Nothing has changed. A delusion has happened, but nothing has changed. And then that delusion goes, this me is getting sensory experiences from the body. This body is now mine. Well, okay. That does not mean that there is a me connected to a biological body. Again, nothing has changed. Another delusion has just happened, but nothing has changed. And then that delusion goes, this body of mine, it can be improved by sit-ups and watching the diet, which means that I can be improved. I can improve my worth with money and prestige and the cover of Forbes magazine. Well, okay. Still, nothing has changed. It's just a delusion on top of a delusion on top of a delusion, but nothing has changed. And then the delusion on top of the delusion on top of the delusion is going to demand a response and a reaction on that level and get really angry and dissatisfied when that doesn't happen. How dare you talk to me that way? I know what you meant. Well, okay. And then it logs on to Zoom and listen to this podcast and ask questions from that delusional level of fake existence and try to grasp non-duality while maintaining that delusion. I want to understand non-duality, me, myself, and I want to improve me and give me tools for me to improve me, to become wise and really see reality. I really want to see reality so I can let go of it all. No, you don't. The ego, or the someone believing itself to exist in its own little self-created reality, wants to maintain that delusion. And it wants to shape an understanding into reality. Well, okay. Not gonna happen, Harold. It's not gonna happen. It's impossible to understand what is through that delusion. The delusion needs to go. The identifying needs to go. And when it goes, nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. There was nothing to let go of. Harold has just discovered the complete delusion. And that is all that is happening. It never was. What wasn't never was. And what wasn't was uninvented. Nothing has changed.